Hello everyone, this is ACH AIA Akaya, and we are watching another 1v1 containing the Master Protoss himself, WhiteRa. Actually, I shouldn't say the Master Protoss because Noni is an incredibly good Protoss player as well, and I'm definitely excited to see what all those Korean kids over in Korea there do with this game once they get it in their hands. Of course, a lot of them still playing StarCraft 1. But anyways, moving off of that subject, we've got WhiteRa playing as the red Protoss here in the upper right, and in the lower left we do have a blue Zerg player, Rigid. I've never heard of this guy, but apparently he's playing against WhiteRa, so he must be pretty daggone good. But anyways, this is going to be Steps of War. Sorry, I just blanked on the name, and apparently Rigid seems to think that Terran is really OP. And I'm not sure what you guys think about this right now, and actually it looks like WhiteRa is not going to even justify that with a response. But I'm not sure what you guys think of Terran in the current build of the beta. I personally think that they are very, very difficult to deal with. They definitely seem like the strongest of the three races, at least to me right now. But anyways, I'm curious to see what you guys think. I've seen a lot of people posting about this on the forums, on Team Liquid and on the SC2 Armory and everything. So I am definitely curious to see what you guys have to say about it. So please feel free to post your opinions and your comments in the comments section down below on this video. But anyways, getting back to this game here, it looks like Rigid putting down his first spawning pool. I'm sorry, his only spawning pool, putting down the spawning pool there at about 15. So going 15 pool, which indicates we may see a quick hatchery as well. But looking at the base of WhiteRa, he does have 2 gateways up and running already. So this map, of course, very short rush distance by ground. So it looks like WhiteRa is going to utilize that short rush distance and actually try to get some early zealots out and put some pressure on Rigid. I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm still recovering from being sick a little bit ago, so my throat is actually extremely dry, and doing all this talking is kind of getting to me a little bit. But of course I want to keep casting games and getting stuff out there for you guys to watch. I am going to, however, just to give you fair warning, I will probably be taking sips of water throughout the game so that I don't choke on my own dry throat. But the spawning pool just now finishing, and we do see a quick expansion going down for Rigid right now, and WhiteRa does have his probe in position to do a little bit of damage on that expansion as he's trying to put it up. And I'm sorry, I'm going to take a break real quick here to get a drink of water. Okay, and I'm back. It doesn't look like we missed anything, but there are a few Zerglings right now coming out for Rigid, so he is going to have Zerglings up to defend against any early pushing against this base. And WhiteRa actually did some damage on that hatchery with his probe and pulled it back because he knew the Zerglings were coming. And it looks like he is actually meeting up with the first 3 zealots from WhiteRa's base and going to come up to the Zerg base here and put a little pressure on and see if he can take down that expansion, or at least force Rigid to cancel it if he's able to do enough damage. But there are 6 Zerglings on the map already, so it looks like he is going to be in a good place to defend against this, and actually bringing 2 more Zerglings and his queen down as well. And immediately WhiteRa is moving up into position. He's going to take out this queen without any problem, it looks like. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to hold off all these Zerglings, though, after taking that queen down. The queen does go down rather easily, and more zealots streaming up here from WhiteRa. He is going to be able to take down the rest of these Zergling reinforcements, it looks like. There are still 4 Zerglings left with the additional reinforcements, and it looks like there are more building right now. So both players right now sticking with the easiest of Tier 1 units and just in an all-out brawl for the time being, just trying to fight over this expansion here. WhiteRa, of course, wants to take down this hatchery. If he can, he will definitely have an advantage on his opponent. There is already a 4 harvester advantage for WhiteRa, so if he's able to get the hatchery at the expansion here, he will be in a tremendous lead. Because he does have the econ advantage, and if he can also take the production advantage by forcing that expansion to go down and killing that hatchery, he will basically be limited to 1 hatch, at least for a short period of time, while he tries to put up another hatchery until he's able to catch up in production, really. And back at the base of WhiteRa, it does look like he has got himself an assimilator, and he is putting up the cybernetics core right now. So going to be switching into Stalker and Sentry Tech here very shortly, and a lot more Zerglings and Zealots going up against each other here. This game has a lot of back and forth pressure right from the get-go, and it looks like there is another queen spawning at the expansion, and a ton of Zerglings now. And if you look at the production menu too, actually, we can see there are 10 more buildings. So, and the Zerglings getting a huge surround on the Zealots. I don't know if the Zealots are going to be able to hold off this many Zerglings, but it looks like they actually do, although all of these Zealots are very badly injured and actually getting a couple hits in on that queen, but the queen able to move much, much faster on creep. So it's able to get away from those Zealots in time to save its little hiney. But anyways, more Zerglings spawning for Rigid right now, so we are once again just seeing an all-out bare-knuckle brawl between Zealots and Zerglings, although it looks like WhiteRa is gearing up to transition into some ranged tech and possibly move the tech tree forward just a little bit further. Although for Rigid right now, it looks like he is still just sticking with the Zergling tech and a couple of Queens getting in the mix with these Zealots. Now, there are a lot more Zerglings than Zealots at this point, and I think that Rigid is going to be able to kill all of WhiteRa's Zealots. And WhiteRa has one more Zealot coming up here to reinforce, but it is not there quick enough. And unfortunately, he actually gets there after the fact and is surrounded by the remaining Zerglings for Rigid. So Rigid actually has a pretty big advantage on the number of offensive units right now. And he is going to push his way across the map here and try to put some pressure on WhiteRa with only one pylon and 2 Zealots to guard his ramp, though. He could be in some serious trouble here. And apparently one more Zealot getting himself caught out of position and goes down to the surround of the Zerglings. But there is an Overlord overhead, so he is going to see the exact amount of units that he has guarding this base, but for some reason Rigid deciding not to move in. He does have more reinforcements coming though, and it looks like he is trying to see if the Zealots are not on hold position, and WhiteRa pulling his Pro Boy to get a Zealot into the wall here and nearly let all the Zerglings into his base. But it looks like he is able to get his Zealots into position. He's actually going to push out and take on some of these Zerglings right now, although for some reason the Zerglings deciding to back off. I think that is enough Zerglings to take on 4 Zealots, but he did decide to back off and let those Zealots hold their position for the time being. And there is an Overlord overhead still as these first couple Stalkers are coming out of the gateways, so it looks like he is going to be able to take out that that Overlord that was over his base, which will actually put Rigid into the red. As we can see now, he is 39 over 36, so he is not going to be able to produce any more units until he gets some more Overlords out on the map. But he is putting down a couple of Spine Crawlers for a defensive position, so it looks like he is going to go in defense mode here a little bit and try to macro up some drones, get his economy stabilized so that he can actually start producing units a little bit more consistently. And as of right now, if we look at the income tab, we can see that there is still a 6 harvester advantage for WhiteRa at this point. So he definitely has the econ advantage, and it looks like he's actually getting himself a Nexus up and running as well. So he's going to take his own expansion here. And WhiteRa managing, actually, is that a complete wall off? Yeah, it looks like he is completely walling off with pylons at his ramp right now. I'm not sure exactly why he's doing that, other than possibly to just prevent a Zergling counterattack. Of course, his expansion will still be exposed, but with the warping technology, he does not need to walk units out of his base. He can just warp them out of his base. So, I guess he's just taking advantage of that fact by walling off with pylons. Although he is going to move up in a position here and putting down the proxy pylon. This is something that's very indicative of the 4-gate rush, which you can see here. He does have his 4 warp gates up and running. So he is going to set that pylon up and warp in maybe another round or 2 of units here to reinforce this forward position, and then possibly put some pressure up on the front entrance of Rigid right now. If we take a look at the units overlay here, we can see that there are 8 Zealots, 3 Stalkers, and 5 sentries, 11 Zealots now, warping in 1 more sentry and 3 more Zealots to come and attack this entrance. And it looks like he is going to push in, and a lot of force fields going down, forcing those Zerglings to just get absolutely useless. They're caught up on the ramp and trapping the Queen here in the forward position as well. Oh man, he managed to take out both of those Spine Crawlers and a lot of those units, although there are still a decent amount of Roaches here, and the Zerglings now getting into the mix because the force field's going down. That is going to be enough Roaches to push back this Protoss force right now, although more Stalkers warping in, so he is going to be able to push those Roaches force, or that Roach force, right back, and he is going to be forced to retreat to his expansion and trying to get some more Roach reinforcements into the mix. But I think at this point this is too many Stalkers for his Roaches to handle unless he can get some very quick Speedlings out, although I do not believe that he has the speed upgrade research for Zerglings. As you can see, he is researching it right now because he realizes that there are a lot of range units on the map, and continuing to warp in Stalkers, so there are no longer any Zealots on the map. So definitely Speedlings are going to be the best option to handle this ranged Protoss army, although only sending 2 and 3 at a time is definitely not going to cut it. And managing to take out some Overlords, so Rigid in a very, very bad spot right now. He is going to lose this expansion, and a bunch more Zerglings being morphed in at the main base here. And it looks like he is going to wait for that speed upgrade to finish, which it just now finished. So he is going to play defensively in his main now and try to see if he can hold on to this base. If he is able to, then he may be alright if he can get that expansion up and running quickly again. But losing a handful of those Zerglings because he's not careful, and all of these Overlords are going to get picked off. And he is once again in the negative. So it looks like WhiteRa has forced his opponent into a very bad position here, and I don't think there's anything that Rigid can do at this point to salvage this game. So WhiteRa is probably going to get the win, and there's the GG from Rigid. So WhiteRa definitely able to time that 4-gate push exactly right and took down the expansion using a great amount of micro on the force field there, forcing his Zerglings to basically be taken out of the picture when he was taking on the Roaches and Queens at the expansion. So GG, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.